Hi everyone, thank you for your participation in our group project. In this podcast, my group and I came up with 5 questions that cover your heritage with faith. Let's begin with question 1. Can you tell us about your background, where you're from, and how you and your family came into the church?
Hi, my name is Brittany Heimuli. I am Tongan, so my mom and dad are both Tongan, and they were born in the islands and they moved here to the US in the 70s. And the way my family became members is it was honestly on both sides, they've been members for a long time, except for my um, grandpa on my mom's side. But other than that, like they've been members of the church um, for several generations in the islands, and then they moved to Utah specifically because of the church in the 70s.
Hi, my name is Maria and I'm Chinese. I'm from Beijing, China. So, something about my background and where how my family came to the church. So basically, I came to the US when I was 7 year old with my mom and my brother. My family actually found the church in a kind of random and funny way. We saw a flyer for like a free English class taped to a street pole, and we decided to try it out. That's how we met the missionaries. They taught us English and introduced us to the church at the same time. Yeah, so we joined pretty soon after, and me and my mom actually baptized on my 8th birthday.
My name is Leslie Meso Ewu from Ghana, West Africa. I'm a student here at BYU, and I've been a member of the church for a little over 20 years now. But our actual journey in the church began about 30 years with my dad when he was introduced to the church by his colleagues. And one thing that really caught his attention was the baptism for the dead. This was because he lost his dad, that is my grandpa, at a very young age. So he was always eager to know what had happened to him, the kind of life once we are done with our mortal lives here. So when he got to learn about baptism for the dead, he was super excited about this church and all that it teaches, and then he became a member of the church, and gradually we all became members. But my mom was the last person to be a member of the church. She finally accepted to be baptized somewhere in 2013. So yeah, she's also coming up and down. It's been an amazing journey so far. And an interesting fact is about 2 months ago, we were finally sealed together as a family, because back home in Ghana, we were not almost always together. Almost every time one of us would be out of town or would not be around, so we never had a chance to perform our sealing.
Wow, what amazing backgrounds you 3 have. It's so wonderful hearing about how you all came to be part of the church. Okay, question 2. Have you ever felt a sense of belonging in your ward or state? What experiences have shaped that feeling?
The answer is no. There were a lot of times in my upbringing where me and my family, we didn't attend a Polynesian ward. We went to a Boundaries ward, which was just the ward that was closest to us. And so we were the only Polynesians there. And I do feel like there were a lot of times where people just expected us to do things for them or wanted things from us that didn't make any sense, or had even derogatory like thoughts about us, like that we were lazy or that we didn't really have any thoughts or feelings on specific topics, or that we were just very passive. And yeah, it really sucked having to like always have these conversations and always educate people. But when I look back and I think about the times where I felt the most belonging, it was when I was contributing in my ward or stake, like in my calling, or it was when I was having, you know, big experiences with my peers, either at girls' camp or youth conference. So it wasn't all the time, but every time I didn't feel like it belonged, it was like I belonged, it was just because people didn't check their own biases before they talked to me. So yeah, I think that's what it was most of the time.
To be very honest, when I came here the first time, I didn't feel any form of belonging. I was mainly feeling isolated. And the good thing is I had my junior brother around, so he was always encouraging me that it is normal. He has been here for about 2 years before I came in, so he was used to this whole situation, because back home we have this expectation that the church is true, the church is amazing, but the best part of the church is when you actually come to Utah. This is what we thought it's going to be, but then when you come to Utah, you realize that it is way different from what you're expecting it to be. In reality, everyone is very individualistic. They are doing their own things. They have people that they talk to, compared to back home where we saw everyone as a part of the community, part of the church. You would see people and we are encouraged to go to them, talk to them, make friends with them. But in Utah, or at least in my experience, most often than not, you'd have to initiate contact with people. One or two people try to be good and warm and receptive, but majority of the people wouldn't really care. And one situation that kind of made it very hard for me to actually feel belong was in my first apartment complex. When we go to church, everyone sees you, they will say hi and talk to you like the usual church stuff. But once we get to the apartment complex, people can easily pass by you as if they've never met you before, as if they don't know you. And then I wonder why did I think I saw this person in church Sunday. Did he not see me? You will try to make an effort to talk to them, and you seem like a whole different person to them. But once we get to church, all of a sudden they remember you, they know you. So it was kind of hard to feel that sense of belonging until we kind of got used to it, and now we've come to understand that because everyone here is different, and the Utah is not a kind of like open-minded culture, so you'd really have to make effort on your part if you want to have friends. So we just see people, we say hi to them, we talk to them, try to get to know them. That way when they see you around, they would always remember who you are and try to also be nice to you.
So I grew up in a Chinese ward, and so I always felt very connected because everybody had the same cultural background as me. My first real experience in a regular English ward is when I came to BYU. It has only been a few months, but everybody is so sweet and welcoming. So I honestly haven't felt any segregation like that. Yeah, I think I do feel belong.
I would like to start off by saying how I am truly devastated to hear about how badly some of your experiences have been, but I am glad that one of you has had a positive experience. Question 3 talks about if you have ever felt tension between your cultural identity and church teachings or culture. If so, how have you navigated that?
To make a very long answer shorter, yes. And most of the time when I've felt that tension, it's been because I have found myself a minority, and like people just have expectations about Polynesians and like expect me to fulfill them even though I don't know them. And most of the time what they expect is a service. Like Polynesian people are very serviceable and very warm, but I do feel like when we are a minority, it gets kind of used and abused. Like people just expect food, or they expect, just a service of some kind, or like dancing, like entertainment, and I definitely saw that all throughout like my upbringing, and even now in my adult life I see it like pretty often. And navigating that is just, I understand people are well intending, but it takes a lot of like grace to educate people that often on why it is an unreal expectation to set on someone you don't know, So it's a lot of educating people, it's a lot of giving grace and, understanding that they're well intending, and also a lot of relying on Heavenly Father and on my own testimony of having, being, how do I say this? Relying on my testimony that I have of being a daughter of God, and how I have worth because I'm a daughter of God, not because I have this expectation to fulfill or because I have a service to provide. It's just because I'm alive and I am God's daughter. Yeah.
to be honest, I haven't really felt a lot of differences between the church culture and the kind of culture I grew up with. Our way of life in Ghana values teachings like family, unity, love, respect for elders, and these are things that are highly stressed in the church culture. So it kind of felt very easy to live the gospel at home because that is what we've been living together since even before we became members of the church. And I believe that is one thing that made it easier for my mom to also become a member of the church, because she felt like it's the same gospel everywhere. Whatever your church is teaching, that is what I know, that is what I've been practicing. But then once we're able to help her see the different element, like the Book of Mormon, the priesthood, that kind of motivated her, encouraged her more to finally accept the gospel. So I believe the church culture or the teachings of the church are very much similar to what I grew up with, which makes it very easier for me to practice and try and be a better member of the church in all that I do.
I actually haven't felt much tension. When I was really young when we moved here, so I didn't really know much about religion before coming to the US or in China. So the LDS Church was actually my first introduction to religion, and I basically grew up with it. So everything has blended pretty naturally for me, and no tension of that kind has came across.
It's nice to hear that 2 out of you 3 have been able to intertwine your culture with the LDS culture. I hope that in the future it would be more easy for others to do the same and won't have to experience what you have. Question 4 talks about if you have seen your culture in the church settings like lessons, leadership, media, or events.
Personally, I would say yes. I mean, we have, BYU Hawaii, which is, the church on a Polynesian island, or the university on a Polynesian island. There's also the PCC, but even in like videos or in certain media that the church has, I do feel like I see Polynesians altogether. What I see sometimes is not my favorite. Like, what I see sometimes is stereotypes perpetuated in the church media. Stereotypes like Polynesians are passive, or that we just are happy, jolly people that will do everything you say, which is like a good image up until a certain point, like, because it's not true. It's not true. Anyways, but yeah, I do feel like there is enough, or there's not enough, but there is a good number of representation. I do think we do need more. So, yeah.
This is a very dicey question, because it's one of the questions that actually brings up a lot of debate when we meet together as friends and when we are talking about the church. Currently, I see the church trying to include some, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, trying to include some people of color in some of their media and pamphlet, which wasn't so initially. So I believe there is some change in it. But initially it was just white people that you see in all the church video in all the church videos and like the Mormon videos, all the teachings videos, you just see white people. But if we really want people to see that the church is a worldwide church, then it has to be represented fully with every form of diversity that is in the church. So initially it wasn't, but now I feel like it's coming up, and I really appreciate the church in its efforts as it tries to include diversity in most of its teachings and videos and media and events like that.
Well, yes, definitely. At BYU, I see a lot of Chinese cultural representations, like activities for Chinese New Year, events inspired by Chinese traditions, and even back in California, there was a whole Chinese ward for people like me, which made me feel really, we're included. We are also seen.
Thank you all for your input on that question. Our last and final question is if you could share one message with church members worldwide about inclusion and belonging, what would it be?
Number one thing that comes to mind that I find myself thinking about often is a lot of times people just don't take it seriously. They don't think it's a problem that they need to worry about. And if that's something you think to yourself, like, oh, I don't need to worry about this because I am a fill in the blank, then you are most definitely the target audience. Like, you need to worry about it. Because I also think a lot of people pardon themselves due to their political affiliation. Like, they'll say, oh, my political party, loves representation, I don't need to worry about that. Or, oh, that's not something that my political party believes. Like, it's not political. It is a covenant thing. It's something that we've actually already decided that we are going to keep as covenant keepers in the church. And so inclusion and belonging is an extension of charity. It's an extension of the promises that we told Heavenly Father we would keep in order to gain more of His guidance and power. And so I just know that it may be uncomfortable, or it may be a conversation that confuses you, but it shouldn't be. It's just about caring about your neighbor and about walking in someone else's shoes and being open to that conversation. And it goes a long way to even just be open for that conversation, I would say. So make sure to have conversations that make you uncomfortable once in a while, and to be open to what your neighbors are going through constantly that you're not aware of. And it would 110% make their experience better and make you a better covenant keeper.
So the church is the same everywhere you go, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in Kenya, Congo, you're in Utah, you're in Europe. It's basically the same church. The teachings never change, but the people in it change. So I believe we don't need to look so much on our differences, because we are all coming from different cultures and different backgrounds, and there shouldn't be there should not create situations where we tend to have prejudice against people because of who they are, but rather our differences should create a sense of curiosity in us to actually reach out and know the person next to you. Try to understand where they are coming from, help them feel belong, help them see things as you see. Whenever we are having programs or whatever you do in the church, don't just think about you, but make sure that whatever you are doing is going to help someone else feel included in that activity, and that person will have a sense of belonging, that even if they should go out, they would always wish to come back because they feel their true selves whenever they are around you guys, or whatever activity you guys are doing.
If I could share one message, it would be that every culture brings something really beautiful to the church. So when we include and appreciate different backgrounds, we become more like the family the church is meant to be. And honestly, I feel like that's what Christ taught us, to make room for everyone, and we welcome people fully. We are not just trying to be nice, we're trying to strengthen our whole community. And that's my message. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, what powerful messages you all have shared. I just want to give one final thank you to the three of you for participating in this project.